Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. Tonight we have Mr. O'Neill, Ms. Luciano, Mr. Kimball, and myself. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Rich sends his best regards. He's with the Town Manager Search Committee, and they're doing interviews this evening. That's why he's not here. So we'll start off with the couple of appointments. Chief, you want to come on?
So good evening. We're here tonight to request the appointment of two firefighter paramedics. These are to fill existing positions. So first we have Ian Pereira over here. Ian actually grew up in Norton and he still currently lives in Norton. He attained his paramedic certification just last week, so congratulations on that. That's a pretty big achievement. And prior to coming to Norton, he was working for Fall River EMS, providing emergency medical services for the citizens of Fall River. Logan Riley. Logan grew up in Westport. He's been a paramedic for over a year now. And before coming to Norton, he was working in Hartford, providing emergency medical services for the citizens in the city of Hartford, Connecticut. Both Logan and Ian interviewed extremely well, and I'm confident that they'll be an asset to our department and to our community.
Does anybody have any questions? I entertain a motion.
Want me to read the notifications? I'll have to read them.
Sure.
Mr. Unit, so I have to read the, so notice of appointment of permanent full-time firefighter EMTB. I hereby notify the select board that in accordance with provisions of Article 4, Section 2B of the Norton Charter, giving me my capacity as the appointing authority, I'm appointing the following individuals as a permanent full-time firefighter EMTB in Norton Fire Department: Ian Pereira and Logan Riley. The appointment was made on May 14, 2025 and will be effective May 29, 2025, unless the select board votes to accept or reject the appointment prior to said date. However, I specifically request that the board acceptance of this appointment be effective as of May 26, 2025.
Through you, Chair.
Yes.
Small correction. Ian Pereira is EMTB and Logan Riley is EMTP.
Thank you.
Yeah, when that was written, he was still an EMT basic, and he just got his paramedic.
Okay.
lesson.
Oh, are they both P?
Yeah, so he is currently a P. You're correct. He's a paramedic now.
Are they both P or just Logan?
Both of them are paramedics. now.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect, thank you.
Yeah.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations and welcome to Norton.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're going to jump around a little bit. We're going to go to a couple of items of new business while we have all the folks from the fire department here. Mr. Unix, do we have a recognition?
So I have Melanie Tall with me. A lot of you probably recognize her. She's volunteers for almost every emergency management thing that we have here in town. Melanie's been our operations person for the emergency management agency for over 5 years now, correct? Melanie recently attained her certification as professional emergency manager, specialist level, through the Massachusetts Emergency Management Association. This required completion of over 25 classes, both on campus and virtually. Melanie accomplished this while working her main job, supporting NEMA as an operations officer, being a wife and a mother, and also while being a pastor at a church in Plymouth. We're pretty busy. Melanie is only one out of 2 emergency management officers in our local area to achieve this certification. She's an integral part of our Emergency Management Association. Her ability to teach and train has helped raise the level of professionalism of our community emergency response team. She has had a major role in the development of the town's hazards mitigation plan, the town's community point of distribution plan, and our continuity of operations plan. Her service, commitment, and dedication to emergency management is very much appreciated by both NEMA, the fire department, and the town. And we look forward to many more years of your leadership. It is my sincere pleasure to present this certificate from NEMA to Melanie and to recognize her achievement and thank her for her efforts.
Thanks, Melanie.
Congratulations, Mel.
Can I say something, Mr. Chairman?
Sure. Yeah.
So, Melanie, you've obviously been very involved in this whole process, and over the years, we've noticed you, no matter where we go, no matter what day of the week it is, you're always there. So I don't think people realize how you and Ray Court and your whole group does so much behind the scenes, sometimes not always being seen. So just wanted to say thank you and how much we appreciate what you do. Thank you.
Thanks again, Mel. Now we have the presentation of the EMS Week proclamation. Do you have the proclamation?
I have it. EMS Week proclamation to designate the week of May 18th to 24th, 2025 as a National Emergency Medical Services Week. Whereas emergency medical services is a vital public service, and whereas the member of the emergency medical services teams are ready to provide life-saving care for those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas to access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival, recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury, and whereas the emergency medical services have grown to fill a gap by providing important out-of-hospital care, including preventive medicine, follow-up care, and access to telemedicine, and whereas the emergency medical service system consists of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency medical dispatchers, firefighters, police officers, educators, administrators, emergency nurses, emergency physicians, trained members of the public, and other hospital medical care providers. And whereas the members of the emergency medical service teams with a career or volunteer engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills, and whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of emergency medical service providers by designating Emergency Medical Service Week. Now, therefore, the Norton Select Board, in recognition of this event, do hereby proclaim the week of May 18 to 24, 2025 as National Emergency Medical Services Week, with the theme, We Care for Everyone. I encourage the community to observe this week with appropriate programs and ceremonies and activities.
Thank you.
I want to say, all of our department members do an excellent job caring for our community. Nobody more than Captain Tynan, who you may or may not have met previously, but he's our EMS director. So he puts in countless hours, and he's up to all hours at night, off duty, on duty. So he's really the heart and soul of our EMS operation. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Can I ask you one question, Chief?
Sure.
I have a question. While I got here, I figured I might as well ask. I'm driving over here tonight in the Northeastern, and we're getting ready to build these new multi-million-dollar buildings. We're talking about these would be designated locations for emergency situations such as major snowstorm, you lose your power. We had conversations about that 6 years ago, 7 years ago. Have these buildings been looked at as far as the possibility of emergency shelter in case we ever need something, say in the future? Have we started looking into that process?
Just to be clear, are you talking about the town buildings?
Town
Hall
talking about-
and the community center?
Yes.
Yeah, so the community center, should be designated as a warming shelter.
Right.
So doing a storm, there's a major outage, people lose power for a while, they can come in, they can warm up, they can charge their phones, they can get some updates on the news and the weather, and we can kind of guide them or assist them in any way that they need. As far as this building goes, we have the facility to be an emergency operations center here, just a couple of rooms down. So that room's on generator, has the AV equipment and internet connections and all that stuff for us to operate out of here.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I bring it up is because obviously, if the power went down right now,
Yep.
there's no way we can help people.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think we need to start talking about this
Yep.
and planning ahead so that if an emergency is coming up, and I mean, today, the weather is terrible, but we survive. I mean, it's not like
Right.
we're gonna freeze to death. But during the winter months, when we have a northeaster or something, when we get something happening, or a hurricane,
Yep.
or whatever might be coming, it would be nice to have a detailed plan in place where we could get that information out to the public
Sure.
ahead of time,
Yep.
you know, and get it all ready to go, you know?
Yeah, generally when we have a storm coming up, obviously we pay attention to the weather every day, right? For a bunch of different reasons. But generally when there's a major storm coming, we start doing public service announcements through social media and that sort of thing.
Perfect.
So, and then obviously if somebody calls 911, we can either help them directly or certainly get them to the resources that they need. As a matter of fact, tonight we have extra people on in the emergency operations center, and the fire department is actually ready to go for tonight.
Okay,
And all of our emergency management people are on standby. We talked about that yesterday with them, so.
Great, thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So now we have the appointment of Karen Urmson as part-time outreach counselor at the Council on Aging. Ruth?
Good evening to our town manager and the select board. I would like to introduce our newly hired outreach coordinator person, Karen Urmson. She's replacing Kathy Vonham, who recently retired. She has large shoes to fill, but with her background and her knowledge, we know that she will be able to do this. We look forward to working with her, and we know that she'll be an asset to the community center, senior center. I'd like to present Karen Urmson.
Thank you, Karen. You want to say anything?
Just thank you, and I look forward to working here in Norton and becoming part of the community. So thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
could you tell us what the outreach coordinator does, counselor does?
Yes,
It's
I
good
guess,
PR time, so.
sure, the simplest way to explain it is human services, helping folks, referrals and resources for community members of all ages, but I believe my focus will be on seniors, 60 and older, but looking forward to being part of the Norton Senior Center and Community Center team. So thank you.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I hereby notify the select board in accordance with provisions of Article 4, Section 2B of the Norton Charter, acting in my capacity as a planning authority, I've appointed the following individual as a part-time outreach counselor at the Council on Aging. Karen Urmson. The appointment was made on May 14, 2025, in accordance with the provisions of the Norton Charter and will be effective on May 29, 2025, unless the select board votes to accept or reject the appointment prior to said date. I specifically request the board's acceptance of this appointment with an effective date of July 1st, 2025. It's a motion.
I make a motion to appoint Karen Urmson as part-time outreach counselor at the Council of Aging
As of,
as of
July 1st.
July 1st, 2025.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Welcome, Karen. So now we have the appointment of the 2025-2026 Serped Commission member.
Through you, Chair.
Yes.
I will repeat, I think the last meeting, I'm willing to take the position as a Serpent Commission member.
Okay, and we have a couple of letters from people asking to be appointed as well, from Mr. Ralph Stefanelli and from Jamie Kelly. Do you have those letters? Have you seen those
Yeah.
letters? Any discussion?
I have a question, Mr. Mr. Yunus, do we still have an alternate member too? Remember they used to?
No, there is no, just for the joint transportation
Just a
planning group.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
Mr.
Yes. Ralph?
Stefanelli is here, not really hear from him.
Mr. Stefanelli?
Ralph Stefanelli, 12 James Street, Norton. 53 years living here in Norton, and 30 of those years were on Serpent. Whether politics got into the mix, I was voted out, and they did away with the position of alternate, so I still feel that one. That arrow hurts. But let's talk about where we are today in Norton. We have so many things that are going on that could get lost down a rabbit hole. New buildings, the Housing Authority of which I'm chairman. We're going to be building affordable housing when it comes to fruition. It's going to be 80 apartments. And the caveat that we put in was you have to live in town. And all of those apartments will be affordable. Now think about that. It's not a 40B, 80-20. 20% affordable, 80% market value. These are important areas of the growth of the town. So consider yourself in the voting, looking at Norton from 32,000 feet up, and look at all the land that's available. And if you don't know what you're doing, that money will go elsewhere. We paid the price on that with a rotary in Middleborough 8 years later. The money was put aside for us, but we never saw a penny of it because Middleborough was a disaster. People were getting injured, and the health and safety of that rotary, or roundabout, was disgraceful to the state. So they took money from the smaller groups because we didn't have an army of people who would fight for that money. They would go, it's not my position. I don't care where it goes, but it's gone. That was their issue. We got it 8 years later, and thankfully nobody died. But people were injured. So I come to the table with a resume, but I don't want to bore you. I've lived here for 53 years. I would like the position back. Only because of the things that are happening in Norton. We have always depended on Serpent and know what door to knock on for help. So you make the decision, and if you think of me, that would be nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stefanelli.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman, Jamie Kelly, I did talk to him earlier. He has a finance committee meeting tonight, so he couldn't be here.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion if anybody's so inclined.
I make a motion to nominate myself for Serpent.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. 3-1. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
If we would, through the town manager, reach out to Mr. Kelly and thank him for his application, as well as Mr. Stefanelli. Thank you for putting your name in. I didn't realize Mr. Kelly was on the finance committee. I was going to ask if he wanted to, volunteer for another position in town.
He's actually
given his
town
ba-
administrator until June 30th, and
Oh, I see. Gotcha. His own professional finance committee. Thank you.
Yes, thanks to both candidates.
So now we have the appointment of designee to the Joint Transportation Planning Group. I don't know that we've had anybody apply for that.
we haven't. If we could wait till the next meeting just to see if we get someone else in.
Mr. Chairman, that we can consider, I mean, if you want to wait till the next meeting, that's fine, but I think we should consider Ralph for that position.
Ralph, could you, by the next meeting, could you send a letter requesting to be on that, for that position?
I did.
For the
No,
The joint
Joint Transportation.
Planning Group.
Oh, no, too much.
not too much, okay.
There's too much going on
Yeah.
in the town that needs looking through a microscope to make sure that Middleborough doesn't happen twice.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just so everyone's clear on that Joint Transportation Committee, we have the Traffic Safety Committee here in Norton. We use Serpent quite a bit for some of our research and surveys and things that we do. This Joint Transportation Committee, in my opinion, is more valuable than Serpent. This is where you get your money for your roads, your bridges, all the big things that happen around the area. So if anyone out there, Ralph or anyone else who's interested, can come forward, we need someone who can actively be involved in this process. They generate about $26 million a year in highway funds and bridge funds, and it's a very important committee to be involved in. So,
And like Bob said, if you hear us talk about the TIP from time to time, the Transportation Improvement Plan, the JTPG, the Joint Transportation
Right.
Planning Group, they're the one that develops that for the region.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So I wanted to ask Mr. Stefanelli if he wants a week to think about this or a couple weeks until our next meeting. Consider it. We can give you information on what the group is all about if you'd like to read up on it. I think you're.
Married for 66 years. I've always run things by my lovely wife. So let me have that opportunity without going about it the wrong way.
We're
Very
not
good.
going to be making a decision until our next
Yeah.
meeting anyway.
Fine.
And if I could, all the meetings are in the middle of the afternoon and they're virtual.
Retired. So it could work, but you heard what I would like to do first.
I think, first of all, I think you are qualified only because you served with me on the Traffic Safety Committee. You know what the impulse of the community is here, and we need a representative that can go there and stand for us, try to get some of this stuff done. So just think about it, but
I am leaning toward it, but again, I like to keep
ask the
these-
boss. Talk to the boss.
Thank you.
Through you, Chair.
Yes.
Thank you for
Just-
your consideration.
Just a suggestion, revert the same to Mr. Kelly as well, and then we'd have the two, one alternate and one.
Yep, perfect.
When you're thanking him for putting his name to it. Thanks.
Point of order, did you guys vote for the circuit rep?
Yes.
I must have missed it. I'm walking from there to here. What was the vote? Unanimous?
It was 3-1.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All of you.
So now we have the reappointment of special police officers and civilian traffic personnel. So I have a letter here from Chief Brian Clark with the list of all of the special police officers and civilian traffic personnel that I would entertain a motion to accept them all as written in the chief's letter. If you want to see the letter, it has all the names of everybody that, for each individual letter that you have.
I understand that, Mr. Chair. The only thing, let me just look fast. Make sure they're all effective July 1st. But some of these are effective on different dates. It looks like they're all July 1st.
All of their terms end June 30th.
Okay, perfect. Make a motion to accept the notice of reappointment civilian traffic control units, and we got two
Special police officers.
special police officers. In accordance with the provisions of Article 4, Section 2B of the Norton Charter, acting in my capacity as appointing authority, and it's the motion, I guess.
And second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now we come to the discussion and vote on the composition of the Norton Traffic Safety Committee. Mr. Kimball?
Through you, Chair.
Yes.
I think we're supposed to have a public hearing at 6:15 for Clinton's.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So let's jump to that. We'll hold off on that. So, I entertain a motion to open the public hearing on the application of Sinspire Events LLC, doing business as Grand Chateau Owl, manager Camille Brown, for a new Section 12 general on-premises license to expose, keep for sale, and sell all kinds of alcoholic beverages to be drunk on the premises at 4 Mansfield Ave North.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, so the public hearing is open. You would like to come up and speak?
Good evening. What a wonderful day in the neighborhood. All this rain. It's good to see everyone's faces, chairman, select board, select women. It's great to see you all here. Again, my name is Camille Smalls. I'm the owner of Sea Inspire Events LLC. I'm working as the Grand Chateau Owl in the Old Norton Historic Library, located at 4 Mansfield Ave in Norton, Mass. And we are here today to get approval for on-premises all service of alcohol and beverages. So it is a wedding and event venue. So any all occasions, corporate, social, cultural, community events, etc., will be taking place in the venue.
Does anybody else have any comments from the public?
We're having an open house on Saturday, so please feel free to come.
Seeing no more comments, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Sorry. Want to make any questions?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call.
Oh, roll call, sorry. Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Luciano?
Yes.
Mr. Kimball?
Yes.
And I am yes. So the public hearing is closed. Discussion from the board?
I had a couple of questions.
Sure.
Mr. Yunus, first of all, how many of these licenses do we presently have, do you know?
We're allowed 20 and 19 were issued.
That's
Wow.
gone up quite a bit in the last 6 years. So you have 20 total, and you have 19 already applied for, so this is the last one?
Yes.
Of the-
And they're, this is the Sportsman's Club, and what was the club down
Oasis.
Oasis? Hasn't been
Turned
official
out.
yet.
Okay.
That'll be coming back.
In the policy package, I was looking through it, the Board of Selectmen, 6-7 years ago, had a policy, their own policy. I don't see it recognized in the packet. Yeah, are we still following those guidelines? You know?
I don't know what policy you're talking.
It was a policy that the board established regarding hearings, you know, the appropriate response if we have an issue with a liquor violation. You know, I believe it's still out there, and I just think it should be part of it. What I'm going to say, I'll say it publicly, there is a policy, I believe, there was, where, you know, if you have to be careful with the license. We don't want you to be serving minors and, you know, have those kind of issues. So if you if you do have a violation, it's pretty stringent. So I would caution you to be careful on that. Make sure your bartenders get certifications that they need, you know, and just we don't want you to come back for that purpose.
Yeah.
So that's why we did the policy so that we could put it right up front and let people make them aware that, you know, it is important that you and your staff be responsible.
Correct.
That's basically what it boils down to.
Okay.
And on the building itself, it takes it to the 99 people I read in the instructions.
That is correct.
Does that include the patio? I don't see any reference to the patio in, I went by and visited the place.
Oh, you did?
Did a beautiful job. It came up really, really nice.
Thank you.
And I remember the old library, so it made it even more fun for me to go in and actually check it out. It's a beautiful place. It's well done.
Thank you.
I'm just wondering if that license, see, on the patio, I believe, Mr. Youngs, do you, Mr. Chair, I believe the patio has to be part of the recommendation in order for you to serve that alcohol beyond the limits of the building. And I'm only bringing it up because I don't want you to get in trouble. You know what I mean?
Understood.
So we gotta find out. I looked at the floor plans, I didn't see any mention of the patio. So I guess what would happen is you'd have to make sure that no drinks could leave
Inside.
the building itself. You know, people can go out back, but they just can't take their drinks with them.
Oh, correct,
Because I don't
yes.
think that's part of this process. Okay?
Yes, yeah, no, that's in our rental agreement contract. There's no alcohol on the premise, you know, outside of the premises where the parking lot is going to be, and you know, things of that nature. So the alcohol is particularly on the grounds, and that is printed out eligibly on our contract. Anyone who hosts an event with us signs it. All of our staff are licensed and insured. If we get outside vendors, they have a COI for a day. Make sure that they are licensed and we are added as additional insurance on their insurances, just to make sure all bases are covered. And you know, we have people to, you know, if we have events that cater to young adults, you know, our bartenders are checking IDs accordingly, and then we have security staff and stuff too.
Ms. Luciano?
Through you, Chair. Jen or Mike, it looks like the building department approval is still active. Have they come back since the 6th, which is, this may have been put on the 6th?
I think, I believe part of the problem was we were in between building commissioners at the time, so I think he just hasn't gotten to that part of the approval process for this application.
Okay. So I think if we vote, we should contingent upon.
Contingent upon getting it signed off.
Correct.
Any other questions? I just had one question.
Sure.
When I was there, when you had the ribbon cutting ceremony, I saw that you had, it looked like it was a temporary bar you had set up there. I don't know if that's where the permanent bar is going to be.
Yes, the steam engine is our permanent bar.
Okay, that's it. It was pretty awesome, the steam engine.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
It's very unique.
Yeah, it is. I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to, approve the on-premises license to expose, keep for sale, and sell all kinds of alcoholic beverages to be drunk on the premises at 4 Mansfield Ave for Clinspire Farms, doing business as the Grand Chateau Owl.
Second.
Is that with the,
Contingent.
Oh, contingent upon, contingent upon the building department approval.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Roll call.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yep, it's C Inspire, by the way, yes.
C Inspire, yeah.
Thank you.
I know, I wasn't able to abbreviate the C from the I.
Ms. Luciano?
Yes.
Mr. Kimball?
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. And I just want to say to Jennifer, you guys have an awesome member on your team. So I just want to thank her publicly for all of her hard work and helping in this process. Thank you so much, Jen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, good luck.
Thank you. Please come by this weekend. We'll be open from 10 to 6.
Very nice.
Okay, so now we have discussion and or vote on the composition of the Norton Traffic Safety Committee. Mr. Kimball?
So I guess we're kind of up in the air on this. I chair the committee, and recently we've had a lot of interest in serving on the committee, which is good because we've got a lot of work to do. And we had asked that Keith Silver and Steve Hornsby be put on as at-large, citizens at large for the committee. The committee was made up of 9 individuals. Select board, the fire department, police, school, highway, and people at large. What we weren't aware of, the committee, was that there was an appointment for alternate transportation committee. We were not aware that that person was supposed to be on the board. So I've reached out to the chair has stepped down, but I've reached out to a couple of the members and asked them to give us a name of someone that might be interested in doing it. And then, in addition to that, Dan Oliver was appointed. We thought he was an alternate, but I guess the board at that time decided to make him a permanent member. So that made the committee an odd number of 10. Now that we've appointed 2 more, that makes it a committee of 12. And it's always best to have an odd number. 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. Now, asking for 13 is a large group of individuals, but I think we can put them all to work on different things we have to do. Silver and Hornsby were appointed at the last meeting, so they bring it up to 12. We have 1 alternate, his name is George Hast. And what I would suggest is that we just make everyone permanent members, make it a total of 13, and probably clean it up as best we can to make it so it works for everybody. So we only meet once a month. It's not a lot of commitment of time, but there is a lot of commitment on what we're trying to get done. So,
Mr. Chair,
Mr.
any concern about gathering a quorum that you'll need 7?
No, I'm not. I've actually done very well. They've been very good at coming in, and what's neat about it is you're getting other people involved now too at large. Like Dan Oliver, he's involved, and he actually installs these monitoring lights and all that stuff around town, traffic signals. So he's very helpful to us. You know, Keith Silver, retired DPW director. You know, he's going to be a big help. So, you know, and we've got the key departments also that are part of the process. So, my suggestion would be, if everyone would consider it, would be to, number 1, enlarge the committee from 9, well, actually 10 to 13, and then appoint, we've already appointed Keith Silver and Steve Hornsby. The only other vote we'd have to take would be to remove George Hass as an alternate, make him a permanent member. So,
Any questions? Mr. Units, do you see any issue with this? If we make it 13 and we add 1 more member? So
And just, will they be resident,
yeah.
the new positions are
Yeah.
resident positions?
Yeah, all the key departments are filled.
Yep.
So it's just all resident, which is fine.
So I would entertain a motion to increase the number of participants in the Traffic Safety Committee to 13.
So moved.
Second. That's from 10 to 13. Right.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we appoint George Hass as a permanent member of the at-large for the Traffic Safety Committee.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Clean that mess up. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Bob, do you need to appoint somebody from the alternate transportation committee as well?
Yeah, I've reached out to Kathleen Zawalski
Okay.
and to, what's her last name? Linda Collette, and asked both of them to come up with a member that can be appointed.
Great.
I gave some background on it and all that, so they have some kind of an idea.
Sounds good.
I don't believe the committee has a chairman right now, so.
If they have any questions, you could have them call me and I could tell them how much fun it is.
There you go.
Okay, next we have discussion on a remote participation policy. So, Mr. Units, I believe we voted on this, and then it came back that the state had changed the policy, or?
So the original policy that you had was instituted back before COVID, and before Zoom was a thing. And it was instituted because the main example was that the planning board on special permits needs like a supermajority of the vote, and you can only vote if you've been there attending the hearings for that particular project. And if someone was there for every hearing and then they were away on business that the final day when it's going to be voted, in order for them to be able to vote, we had to adopt that original policy, which was allowed them to participate remotely, which at the time was by phone. And we put in special phones in the town hall so that we could do that. And then when COVID hit, the state passed legislation and the governor signed to allow all meetings to be remote. And so from what I got at your last meeting, you were anticipating that your vote would tell all boards and committees you cannot meet remotely. And then town council had been here when this was tried in 2023 and said you can't do that. The state law says committees can be remote. And so I reached out again to Joe Fair and Attorney Fair. I said, is that still in play, what you ruled in 2023? And he said, yes. You can't tell committees they can't meet remotely.
Yeah.
So.
Through your chair.
Ms. Luciano?
I appreciate that, because I don't think I had the full context of that when we voted last time. And so I believe that we should follow the state, where the state is at currently, and as easy as we can make it for our boards and commissions, I think the better, because we have a real issue getting people to volunteer currently for boards and commissions. So I think we should leave it up to the respective boards and commissions to choose how they want to meet, as long as it meets state law requirements.
And if I could, you might want, I can reach out to council, because she did say the policy we have is kind of outdated, and see if town council can draft up a new remote policy for the town to look at. And if you have questions that you want me to ask council as part of that, I'd be free to do that.
That would be great.
Anybody else?
You just want, when you ask for that, my thought is if it's a hybrid meeting, that the chair should be in the room. I don't know how the chair can run a meeting when there are people in. I don't know if that's something that can be part of the policy, or ask her if that's the legalities behind that. I don't know how you chair a hybrid meeting if you yourself are on Zoom, when you have people that might be sitting that you may not even know are sitting in the room.
Mr. Kimball?
About obviously this conversation came up. I was at the meeting. I wasn't on the board at the time when the vote was taken. My suggestion, pretty much what Mr. O'Neill just suggested, was that someone should be in a town hall. We just spent millions of dollars on these buildings. And I know the state has, again, taken the lead to make things even more difficult by creating a law that COVID, I'm not suggesting we get rid of Zoom. I think Zoom should remain. I think people should be able to see things live, which we're not doing yet. Hopefully that'll happen soon. But more importantly, I think someone needs to be in a building so that if I come in and I don't have the ability to see and watch a meeting, it would be nice to have the ability to have at least one person, I don't care who it is, it doesn't have to be the chair or anyone else, at least be available so that others could come in, watch the meeting with that person, ask questions if they needed to ask questions, and have it in a public space. COVID is over. for the most part. I understand that the state is trying to make it easier for people to meet, and again, I'm not suggesting we take and not do what the law is telling us to do as far as the meeting laws go. But I do have a problem with not giving public transparency to a meeting where, I'll give you an example. My folks down on Pine Street, there's a new project being proposed on Zero Pine. The Conservation Commission had a meeting on last Tuesday. And some of them called and said, I don't know, I can't get in, I don't have a phone that can do that, I don't know the technology. And I suggest they go to their neighbor's house and, work with the neighbors to be able to participate. That shouldn't happen. In today's world, we should be able to have at least one person available to answer questions and direct the person, if nothing else, to get them on the Zoom meeting to discuss it. And that's the only suggestion I have, that other than following the mandate, that's the only other suggestion I would have.
Through you, Chair.
Ms. Luciano.
Just my personal thoughts are that, for me, a remote participation is more accessible than a noontime Wednesday in-person only meeting for citizens of this town. Everyone has a telephone, and so even if you don't have Zoom available to you, you can still call as a number you can call in, and you can still participate as a call-in number in any meeting. So from my perspective, I feel it's much easier if you at least have a remote option for everything versus only having in-person meetings.
Mr. Chairman, I would agree with that. I totally agree with it. And that's not what I'm suggesting. So I think it's important to maybe put the whole policy together with the suggestions of the board, take another look at it at a later date, and come up with a plan that kind of makes sense for everybody. And one thing that's going to have to be obviously available would be the technology to allow these meetings to be held. I believe this building has the technology in it to hold in-person meeting with at least one person. My final comment is, in the years that I've served on many committees and boards, you don't read a crowd the way you do through Zoom. You don't see them. You don't see faces. You don't see mannerisms. You don't understand what the intensity is sometimes of the issue that these people have a passion for and they want to talk about. You don't see that. I've been hearing the word transparency kicked around for years now, and this to me is not being transparent. If we don't get a policy in place where people feel they have a right to come in, sit in front of someone and talk about something, I think it's a disgrace to the community. I think we need to figure out a better way to do it. That's all. Follow the rules, do the Zoom, allow participation. It's all fine with me.
I think the point is that the current state law allows for fully Zoom, fully remote.
I believe there's some language in that law that states that the town can, I can look at it for you.
Yeah, I mean, we can.
Let the council look at it.
Yeah, the council's come back with a proposal.
But there is something in here that does state that we have the ability to do other processes also.
Thank you.
Hi. Val Cabral, 50 Mansfield Avenue. COVID is not over. My grandmother has cancer, and so I'm trying not to get her sick. I'm on the Norton Cultural Council, which has been, since I joined it, basically begging for members. The reason I'm on it is because another friend of mine was asked by another friend of hers, because they can't keep enough members to ensure that we continue to get the $13,000 to $15,000 of funding from the state that allows us to help fund grants. And we are very much focusing in Norton because in the last few years, obviously we've had budgeting issues. They fund speakers at the schools, they fund programs at the library for people of all ages, but also including filling some of those gaps from the schools. And our chair has said that if you decided to try to go against state law, because the council has already said that this was not legal to do, if you were to decide to do that, our chair has said that she will go sit in a room, but I can tell you that in the like 4 or 5 years now that I've been on the Cultural Council, Peter J. Wiggins has been on some of our meetings, but not even he comes to many of them. I am all for transparency. That's why minutes go online. That's why the meetings are all recorded as well. And I would love it if more folks did care about the smaller councils like this, and I do think that for things like the select board, obviously, the vibe is very different in a room. But for the boards, my concern is for the boards that are less glamorous, I suppose. It's hard to get members in the first place, and I just really think that it's important to make it as accessible as it can, not just for people to join on Zoom, but also for folks who might have schedule restrictions. I usually work until 6 o'clock, so I left early to get here. For people who have disabilities, it makes it easier for them to actually participate on the boards as well. And I know the position of the previous chair was that, too bad if you're on a board, that means you have to show up in person, and I strongly disagree with that, obviously, but I would just encourage you to keep in mind that for a lot of people, similar to what Denise said, it makes it more likely that you're going to have more folks actually want to serve on the boards if they are able to participate remotely. Thank you.
Mr. Units, do you think it would be possible to ask Ms. Goldberg from KP to see if we could update our policy so that it meets the state requirements, but also the town need to have the ability for citizens to come to town hall to meet in person? Is that like we could?
I'll put that, those questions you had, I'll give those to her.
Thank you. Okay, next is the discussion on the temporary flag and signage policy. So we've, this has become something that came up when it was requested of the select board to allow a flag to be flown at the, on the town common. From what I've read and what I understand, we have a policy that has been in place that we don't allow any flags to be flown except for...
Yeah, that's a practice. We haven't put a policy in place.
Okay, so I guess that gets to my point that we don't really have a policy in place. That I believe we should have a policy in place. And I think that that's something that this select board needs to work on and come up with a policy so that people know what's allowed, what's not allowed, who can do this, who can do that. What discussion do anybody have? Thoughts?
Yeah, I was just going to add, through your chair, there's a proposed policy in the package from council.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a great, and that's for specifically for flags on town flagpoles, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's a great policy. I read through it, I'm aligned with it, but everyone can decide if they're ready or not for that, to vote on that. It is missing the designated locations of the flagpoles, so we need to include that. But I think for flagpoles, that's a great policy. I would suggest, we don't have one for temporary signage, which I think is a different issue, right? On the town common and town property. I should say town property as a whole. So I think we should talk about a potential similar policy for town signage. The only thing that I would expand from what's allowed here in the flagpole one, just based on what we currently practice, is also things that are allowed are celebrated at the state and federal level, either special day or a celebration month or whatever it is that is especially on a state or federal website, right? So if a state or federal website has a particular holiday or celebration, then those are things that we could perhaps entertain. And the other one would be memorials for tragic passings of people in the community, because that's something that in practice we do. We do have, I saw in the bylaws, memorials set up at the location of a tragedy, but not necessarily on town property. But I do know that we have historically used the town common we most recently did it for the young girl, unfortunately, that passed earlier this year. And so those are the two things that I would probably add for the temporary signage to what we have allowed for the flags. That's it.
Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. King?
the couple other things too. I think you're right, Denise, we have to have it for both, but we have to recognize that the center of town is in the historic district. And they have laws that override a lot of the laws, zoning laws that we have here in town. So I think we need to make sure that they put their concerns or their policies as part of it. So if we're talking about out here in front of the building, we're probably okay. We can talk about what can be used and not used. But when you get into the center of town in that small historic district, we have to make sure that we're in compliance with their bylaws as well as the bylaws of the state or the town.
Through your chair.
Yes.
That actually was raised a couple of years ago, Bob, but you were at the meeting, you probably might have forgotten, but we had town council come and explain to us, the Historical District Commission, whether or not they had authority over the signage there, and they made it very clear that they did not have authority to designate what could and could not be in the town common. It was up to this board to make that determination. So I have the video of it. I think I shared it with Alec and Mike as the chair and Mike as town manager, but I'm happy to share it with the rest of the board as well. But yeah, Circle District, although I understand they have an interest, yeah, but they don't have authority over what goes on the town common. For temporary signage, I should say.
So the only thing I could find on signage anywhere on town property was for political signs, was that they were not allowed anywhere on any town property, which is why you see when we have elections and that sort of thing, that people aren't allowed to put signs all over any place where it's town property. I haven't found anything else, but I think that this board needs to come up with a policy and so that everybody's clear about it. Because right now, we don't even have the ability to say no to people because we don't have a policy that we can fall back on, and we'd be in violation of somebody's rights if we say you can't do it, but we let somebody else do it.
Correct. The only other thing that I would add is we should think about in the signage policy, do we want to talk about how many signs are allowed and what size the signs could or should be?
Yeah, I did find that on the political sign thing that they had a size of a sign, I think it was 16 by 24 is the only size sign that is allowed to be out and put out. But anyways, aside from that, we should have a policy for the common especially, but town property as a whole.
Yeah.
And how people can request to put up signs if they want, instead of just having outside groups doing it. It should be done something through the town, through the select board.
Correct.
As opposed to just people putting up signs. So, Mr.
Karen Drain, 6 North Washington. To your point, anytime that the signs have been put up, and we're talking about the pride signs, it has gone through the town, and last year the select board did vote and approve them. So it was done by proper channels. I support the development of I just switched those two words around. A town signage policy. But make no mistake, it is not a coincidence that this is being brought up now with Pride Month coming in just 2 weeks. It is about pride, and I hope that having a sign policy will limit or eliminate pride signs on town property. Right now, there are other signs and banners along the historical district, the hometown heroes. No concerns have been raised and no efforts have been made to enact a sign policy that would change those out. Furthermore, no one has requested to display additional signs on those posts along the historical district. Since 2001, the town of Norton and the select board have recognized Pride Month with an official proclamation, which I'm not sure if you all are going to do, but we are 2 weeks to Pride. And have approved the placement of Pride signs on the common. 4 Pride yard signs have been displayed there, with the police, fire department, library, and town hall each putting out a sign as well. Past years were marked by unfortunate incidents of signs being stolen and defaced, but last year brought a welcome change. The signs remained in place peacefully from June 1st to June 30th. It felt perhaps like we had finally reached a point of mutual understanding and respect, and yet here we are. So let's talk about why pride signs are important and what makes them distinct from other signs. Pride signs serve as more than just decorations. They send a powerful message of inclusivity and support. Seeing pride signs around town assures LGBTQ plus residents that they are seen, valued, and welcomed in our community. In Norton, where bias and discrimination persist, these signs serve as a powerful statement of solidarity and visibility. Pride signs ensure that LGBTQ plus voices are not erased from public spaces. Representation in the community helps to normalize acceptance and counters harmful narratives that contribute to exclusion and hate. Pride signs displayed in June hold special significance because Pride Month is federally and state recognized, setting it apart from other signs or observances that lack national acknowledgement. This formal distinction underscores the importance of these rights as a matter of public policy, civil rights, and social justice. Since 2001, the town of Norton has reinforced this commitment by ensuring a proclamation in support of Pride, further emphasizing what I hope is a town dedication to equality and inclusion. As you establish Norton's signage policy, it is essential that Pride signs are explicitly permitted and protected. If they are not directly included, then ensure that the policy does not impose restrictions so strict that they are effectively banned from display. Policies are more than rules. They reflect the values and visions of our leaders. Will you stand for inclusion and affirm Norton as a place where everyone belongs? This is not just about signs, it's about what kind of community we want to be. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Kimball.
So just to be clear, I understand the pride signs, and I just made the assumption that was going to happen anyway. The reason we're here talking about this tonight, we have yet another request for the month of July to put up what they call the Gadsden flag. We've been getting requests from this gentleman to put up a flag on the common the same way we do the pride signs. That's the reason why we're having this conversation tonight. I just automatically assumed that the pride signage was going to go up. That was already approved. The conversation we're having now should be about this Gadsden sign, whether or not this is something we want to have on the common. The flag can't be flown. It can't be done. But the kind of political signage that Mr. Marsden mentioned could be allowed. I have some concerns about this too, because it's 1775, so it's the 250th anniversary. It's one of the original flags of the country. I understand why they want to do it, but there's another version of another meaning to the sign that's kind of hidden, and I had to look. I just Googled it again. The "Don't Tread on Me" sign often displays a sign. It's a flag of a rattlesnake, powerful symbol of resistance and defiance against authority, particularly government interference. So that's the purpose. That was originally designed back in 1775. But could be construed the same reasons that we're talking about today. So I have some concern about that. However, if the pride signs are allowed, then how do I say no to this? So that's why we're trying to talk about a policy, and make sure we don't suddenly are putting out signs that support, the Ku Klux Klan and Nazis, and I mean it can get totally out of the way. So we've got to come up with a process that makes sense on town signs and on the town common, on town property rather than the town common. That's why we're talking about this tonight.
Through you, Chair.
Ms. Luciano.
That's exactly why I think I proposed, so it's not subjective, right? And we have an objective source, and that would be looking up a state or a federal website to see what celebrations are posted on those state and federal websites, and that would be the signage that we would allow, things that are recognized at that level. That way, there's no question about, we're deciding this one versus that one.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Mr. Stefano.
Ralph Stefanelli, James Street. If you're gonna do that, I want an American flag in every classroom. every classroom.
Sure.
Thank you. But don't interrupt me again. Thank
Hey,
you.
it's enough of that.
Okay. Robert's rules. This is a tough issue. If you're gonna go in that direction, multicolored flags, I want a Christian flag that supports God. So you're looking at some people who don't go along with the rhetoric. And when they started to take statues down of the Civil War, that was a very tough situation, because as a Civil War roundtable person, and I belong to the Lincoln Committee out of DC, and I'm a historian, if you will, not expert, on the Civil War. You can imagine how I felt when verbiage, and out of the blue, there goes Jefferson, there goes Lee. This is a committee that needs to dig in and do their homework. Because if you go in that direction, an ice cream month comes up, I want an ice cream flag. So you gotta be careful. It will happen, and I'll be the one who puts it up. But here's some of the things I don't want to do. I don't want to turn it into a battle. If you're going to put that flag up, you should know about some of the things you can and cannot do. You cannot put that flag underneath an American flag. The only flag that can be flown underneath an American flag on one pole is the Palmia flag, the black flag. We bring home the bodies of our fallen veterans. So, give it some serious thought. I'd be willing to help you. I have the books on what you can do to fly a flag, but this is not the forum to get into it. The forum is not just me. There's a lot of veterans out there who will want to have their say on those polls that you're worried about. Many of them died for these freedoms, and we're not about to give up that poll. So it's something to think about. Thank you.
Still Val Cabral, still 15 Mansfield Avenue. So I would posit that, so first of all, I think we should have sign policy. The reason that I'm always somewhat nervous about it is because the last time this came up, the sign policy issue was the schools, and it was explicitly an attempt to block pride flags from being shown. So that's probably why we're here kind of going about it. I would say that right now, the Common already holds plenty of Christian memorabilia and symbolism. Basically, the whole month of December, we have an explicitly Christian display and also an explicitly Jewish display, as much as I wish we would get better about actually lighting them on the correct night. But we do not only have Christmas lights that could be called non-denominational, and I'm saying this as someone who celebrates and loves Christmas, but we have a nativity scene on the Common at Christmas, which is an explicitly Christian symbol, and no one has tried to block it, and I would never try to block it. If we start talking, though, about, well, but if you do this, then I'll do that, then we're going to end up with the Satanic Temple here trying to put a statue of Baphomet up, whereas they have many other places that have tried to say, well, you can't have a pride sign, or you have to put up the 10 Commandments. So, realistically, I don't want any of that to change, but we should acknowledge that we already do spend an entire month with explicitly Christian iconography on the Common, which is fine. But that already happens. The other thing I would say is that please first of all, these comments are going to deal with heavy subjects, so just be warned. When you are crafting this policy, please do take into account the fact that LGBTQ kids are 2 to 2.5 times more likely to experience depression, seriously consider suicide or attempt suicide than kids who are not a part of the community. And we also know, because it's been studied, that acceptance makes those figures go down. I recently learned this actually because I did a speech at Wheaton and I was looking into figures. Acceptance by at least one adult, by peers, by their family, and living in an accepting community all can make a difference in that figure. In very or somewhat unaccepting communities, the suicide attempt rate for teens in the LGBTQ plus community is 21% or 17%. And if you go to somewhat or very accepting communities, it goes down to 13% and then all the way down to 7%. So less than half as likely. So showing ourselves to be a community that accepts LGBTQ folks saves children's lives, period, end of story. There is no argument against that. And I know that the big thing lately is to pretend that kids don't know what I did from the time that I was at least 12. I was that kid who knew they didn't belong, who got bullied over it, whose parents wouldn't let them go out on a date with someone of the same sex. I was part of that 2.5 times statistic, suicidally depressed through my teens, not, as some like to suggest, because being queer is a mental illness in and of itself, but because I felt like there was no way I was ever going to be able to live an authentic and fulfilling life as the person who even then I knew myself to be. Every day that you see me in town, at meetings, standing on the common, trying to get people to participate, it is because I found belonging and love and community that I did not have as a kid growing up in West Bridgewater in the 90s. That's the only reason I'm still here, annoyed as that may make some people. And the same thing is true for kids in this town, probably some of your kids, whether or not you know it yet. None of this is a joke, it's not made up, it is real. It was real in the 90s and early 2000s, and it's still real today. So I know this always becomes a controversial piece, and I just would encourage you, as you start thinking about the sign policy, to take into account that it's relatively unobtrusive and that it genuinely will save children's lives. Thank you.
So I believe we should have this on our next meeting's agenda to start crafting, working on coming up with a policy.
I was going to suggest, since Mike, you had council write the flag one, if we could get them to write a similar one for us to look at, we could potentially discuss and vote if it looks good, right? Write a similar one for the signage on town property, and just expand it a little bit to include the, if you guys are okay with that, the state and federal website celebrations and the traumatic or the tragic deaths of Norton citizens.
Mr. Kim.
Mr. Yanis, I have to assume that we're not the first to ask for something like this. They must have something that they can send down that we can review.
Exactly, yeah.
There has to be something out there.
I tried looking, but we're out of time.
Mr. Chair, so we still have the request, which is what warranted this discussion. In June is, actually July is a little more than a month away, so hopefully we'll have something, drafted before then.
And we don't have, I don't know how we say no. I don't think we have the ability right now to say.
Well, if we have a policy in place,
Well, if
see
we
if
have
it
a
fits.
policy in place before then, that
Yeah. This
would
is-
have a vote come up.
Right.
Any more discussion? Okay, moving on. Review, discuss, and a vote on the SDRSB Water and Sewer Treatment Chemical Board.
And so this is part of the Southeastern Regional Services Group bid. And there's 3 items on here that are used by the Water and Sewer Department. Liquid potassium hydroxide, sodium hypochlorite, 15% solution in 55-gallon drums, and sodium hypochlorite, 15% solution, bulk delivery. And I can tell you that The liquid potassium hydroxide went up 2.6%. The sodium hypochlorite dropped 5% this year, and the sodium hypochlorite bulk delivery dropped 4.9% this year. So a little mix, but some of them,
Works out.
a couple of them did drop quite a bit.
Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the Sursage, SERSG, Water and Sewer Treatment Chemical Award.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, I'm gonna jump back for a minute because we jumped over the acceptance of minutes and announcements when we did our public hearing. So, entertain a motion to accept these minutes.
I'll make a motion to accept the March 27, 2025 open session minutes and the March 27, 2025 executive session minutes.
I have to second it.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Present.
Present.
Okay, announcements. Mr. Kimball.
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple I'd like to bring up. Norton Veterans Council wishes to cordially invite and extending an invitation to participate in the historic Memorial Day Parade. The parade will start from the Norton High School. It will start at the high school, go down West Main, through the center of town, East Main, down to Pine Street, turn around, head back up the other way. It will stop at Town Common and make a presentation there, and then from the Common, they will go to the memorial next to CVS, make another brief presentation there before they return back to the Yale School. The parade, weather permitting, will be held on Monday, May 26, 2025 at 10 a.m. In the event of inclement weather, which I don't believe is going to happen this year, the ceremony will be held in the Henry A. Yale Gymnasium. All parade participants will assemble at the Norton High School parking lot at 9:30 a.m. and step out at 10 a.m. Upon completion of all the event, formation and reform will be returned to the Henry A. Yale School to disband, and there will be refreshments. Usually we have hot dogs and some drinks for the kids. Sometimes we have ice cream. So if you're around, we would encourage you to please come by and join us. That's 10 o'clock next Monday. The Norton Veterans Council wants to remind everyone that we're having our third annual carnival, June 26th from 6 to 10, 27th from 6 to 10, June 28th will be till midnight because there's going to be fireworks for the Founders Day event, which is also going to be held on the same day on June 28th. Then on June 29th, we'll be open from 12 to 6. So in conjunction with the Norton Park and Recreation Department, we are bringing back Founders Day for the first time since pre-pandemic, and we're pretty excited about that happening. And we are going to have fireworks in Norton for the first time in many, many years, so that's a great event. We hope you all can take the time to come out. Norton Pride Celebration. We received a letter. We hope this letter finds you well. We are delighted to invite you to the Norton Pride, a vibrant and inclusive celebration taking place on June 22nd. This event is dedicated to fostering the community spirit, promoting equality, and celebrating the diversity that makes Norton such a wonderful place to live. We welcome your attendance in Norton Pride, and we kindly ask that you share information about the event and the upcoming meetings so more residents can be involved and encouraged to attend. Your support plays a vital role in strengthening our mission to create a welcoming and inclusive environment for all. Please let us know if you have any questions. And again, that is on June 22nd, which I believe is Saturday? Sunday. Look at my calendar. No. Not sure.
June 22nd is a Sunday.
Sunday. June 22nd is a Sunday. And again, that'll be at the, where is that? That's it.
Can't think of
I think it's
Outdoor Rec Center?
I think it's the outdoor rec center at the Y, right?
YMCA Outdoor Center.
Right across from the old downtown,
it. Sorry, I called it Camp Finberg.
the old Camp Finberg. So It's a beautiful campus out there. If you get a chance, please go on by and check it out. That's all I had.
Thank you. Okay, under old business. Oh, is there any other business topics not reasonably anticipated in the last 48 hours? So we have discussion on hiring an interim town manager and related process for doing so. So I heard back from town council as far as a range of salary to advertise, and I was told that you don't need to put it. Most places, if they're hiring an interim, don't put in a salary range for an interim, and they just put up and see if there's any interest of anybody to come in. So I would suggest that we follow that same course. Discussion on repairing of King Philip Road. Do we have anything?
Just to give you an update on that, we have not received anything from KP yet. As Sharon said when she was here, it's town meeting season, so they're pretty tied up. But town meeting did appropriate $10,000 additionally to the work, to allow Jared to work on private roads to do immediate repairs. So he'll be looking at what he can do as far as repairs on King Philip Road with that money, which would be after July 1 that it's available.
I think that's good news. Town manager's report.
Just to give you some updates, you've probably seen that Pro AV's been working in this building all week, working to complete all the audio-visual needs. The old fire station, the new fire station, is buttoned up, and they're working. The sign, digital sign was put in this week, and the senior center digital sign's been installed. They're working on landscaping out front now, and the final paving will be the last week of May. So they anticipate being completely done, other than some punch list items that will come up at the end of May.
Mr. Chairman? How are we doing for money?
He's doing fine. They're keeping right on
But he
budget.
is.
That's good. I'm not talking about making money, I'm talking about making sure we have money left.
As a town accountant, I did meet with the OPM, and he seems like he's on, because we were asking if he was gonna need any more money, and seems like his budget's gonna be fine.
So as far as the AV equipment in here, when is it going to be fully done? Do you know?
I think in here it is done, because I noticed at your last meeting, Jason was in the room and these cameras were all working. You could see it up on the screen. So I think it's just Jason training
So it's just
the
okay.
people at the media center how to use the equipment.
And how are we doing on punch lists for the two buildings?
Doing well. We're waiting to hear back on the roof at the senior center with some of the buckling, what the cause and solution is for that. So they did have the roofing company, not the manufacturer of the shingles, was in to look at it along with the contractor. And in here, there's some minor punch list items that have to be addressed.
Okay.
A teensy question, about 15 Mansfield Ave. I drove by the senior center like a few nights ago, and their sign is, I almost thought it was like a police car or a fire engine coming, because it's really bright at night. It's wonderful during the day, but I was almost worried that like it was going to be distracting to folks because of how bright it is. Do we know if it's like adjustable so that maybe it would be a little...
What color was it?
Red and white?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it looked like, you're like, oh my God, emergency vehicles, and then it was just...
I don't know what training they have had on it in there, but they can.
But they are adjustable.
Yeah.
Okay, that was all. Thank you.
The red is really bright.
It's great.
Well, better too bright and we can dim it down than the other one. So we signed everything we needed to sign as far as the mail goes. take care of the warrants. Next meeting agenda, June 5th is our next meeting.
I have something on the selectmen's report.
Mr. Kimball.
I have a couple of questions, Mr. Yunus. Can you check into this? And I don't know that I'm correct, and I hope I'm not. Elm Street, I know we had a long conversation the other night about storage down there. I was told recently that the land across the street, there's 3 parcels. The main parcel is, of course, the big warehouse. And the other 2, one's a 4-acre parcel where the old septic system was. It was contaminated, and hopefully it's been cleaned up. And then the one with the parking lot across the street, people have been asking why people are digging holes in the parking lot. Can you confirm that they've sold the property? Has that been sold?
That property across the street has sold, and someone was probably doing a perk test.
So how does this work? Because I'm confused about the fact that this community spent $500,000 on the restoration, not the restoration, but the destruction of the mill itself. And I'm assuming that the bank that holds the attorneys that hold the bankruptcy, are they the ones that are handling the money for that?
So the property across the street was separately sold. I don't know who bought it.
Okay. Well, the reason I'm asking is I was looking at the site before I went to town meeting.
Yeah.
I couldn't help but notice that the parcel was sold. And according to our records in town, it was sold for $1,500. The property's valued at $207,800. Someone bought it for $1,500 in December of '24. 1-acre parcel, which is capable of building one house, if not a duplex, I suppose. Sold to 47 River Works Incorporated, 200 Lincoln Street, Boston, Massachusetts. I assume that's the company that we were working with for the mill. And I question how this could happen. How can a company come along, and by the way, they owe us, which they have not, which I don't understand, if the property was sold, how can they still owe the town of Norton the back taxes and the fees in addition to the fees, $43,271.83. That was as of, I believe, May 22nd. So I'd like some answers on this, and I don't know who we can talk to about this. I will tell you that it's not passing my smell test. I can tell you that for starters. $1,500 for 1-acre parcel of land in Norton is by far a bargain. I could question whether or not it was contaminated. I don't think it is. Though it should be no more contaminated than the other houses around it. I'm assuming that hole that they dug in the driveway was a perk test to see how it would perk for a Title V septic system. But I want some answers. And I know how the other board members feel, but they took $500,000 of our money to help fix the problem. And a major slap in the face is selling it for $1,500. I can understand if they said $1,500 and you take care of the taxes. I mean, now you're talking close to $50,000. I kind of get that. What I don't understand is how a $200,000 piece of land can be sold for even $50,000 without the town having some input somehow, based on the fact that we have spent so much money, set aside the EPA and the DEP, how many millions they spent on the project. So I think we need some answers on that. And I just don't know who you can contact, but I for one, would like to know what's going on over there.
Through you, Chair.
Ms. Luciano.
The $500,000 was spent on the lot across the street, not the parking lot.
I understand that.
Yeah, okay. Just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, I understand that. To me, that project is 3 parcels. It's a contaminated site that the town and the bank and the attorneys are never going to touch. It's going to sit there. It's going to be part of Norton's history forever, and we're never, ever going to be able to sell it or do anything with it. We can't take it. If we take it and there's still contamination in the ground, we got to fix it, and we don't want to do that either. So we have to kind of ignore that. The main building, I get it, and this has to come down, we gotta do something with it. I mean, it's terrible. And then across the street, the parking lot. So, it is 3 different parcels, but to me, it's all Reed and Barton, and I don't understand how they can sell off a piece of land for that kind of money. I would hope and pray that you're all as infuriated by it as much as I am. That's all. And I think we need some answers on it.
Point of order. Can you put a time, is it okay? Sure.
To Mike.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to hear the town manager respond to his question first before we open it up.
I can't respond to his question. I have to check with the
Yeah.
assessor and the
Okay,
treasurer. to
that's
find
fine.
out.
Very good. Thank you, Mike.
Ralph Stefanelli, 12 James Street. Didn't we spend a lot of time in the sale and of this property in terms of, hey, if you're gonna put sewerage in, you gotta buy the parking lot, you gotta buy you can't go down Elm, you blah, blah, blah. A lot of time was spent on that, and right in front of your face, it gets sold from underneath you for $1,500.
We don't know that to be true.
Understood.
That's what the record.
But this is gonna play a little bit on TV. So you gotta alert the people of Norton that some of these crazy things are going on within your town. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'd wait to hear what the status is, but we can't force someone to sell 3 parcels together just because we think of them together. And I know that she was pursuing, the person was pursuing probably at one point in pursuit of building this building. Now, whether that's going to move forward, I'm guessing not now, since there's no sewage, but yeah.
She actually is looking at what she can do now with a septic system.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Kimball.
second point I'd like to break is another thing you brought up. The planning board spent a lot of time on a recodify program. I voted against it because I was listening to some of the concerns. My understanding, I wasn't on the board when you guys voted to put it on the warrant. To be honest with you, I didn't take the time to really do much review of it. I just assumed that it was something that was going to be presented. It was going to be realigned to kind of make sure everything worked well and fit the programs, maybe clarify a couple of the legal issues involved in it. And the day of the town meeting, I started finding out that there was other aspects to it, that changes had been made. That should be discussed publicly before we vote on it. I 100% believe that we have to do it. But I want to sit down with the planning board at I would suggest not at a meeting, but like a workshop. And just have 2 boards, 3 boards, 4 boards, I don't care how many boards together. Just sit us all down, explain it to us. This is what it was, this is what it is. So we can all go to town meeting and understand what we're voting for. So I would suggest we do that in the very near future if we could. And my final comment is I'd like to have a joint meeting with the Water Sewer Commission. Either we can meet them or they can meet us. I don't care which way it goes. There's a company called Aquaria Water. They're out of North Dayton, Massachusetts. It's a desalination plant. Some of you may remember this. Back about 10, 12 years ago. We were working with, the city of Brockton had a problem. They ran out of water, having some issues with their infrastructure, and they were trying to find a second opportunity to come up with water. And this desalination plant was being built down in North Dayton. It was a different company then, it's not the same company name as it is now. But the purpose of it was to desalinize water coming into the bay and to pump that to Brockton for their purposes. Well, it was built, cost millions of dollars, and Brockton in the meantime decided to go in-house and start looking at some of their infrastructure and went, whoops, found out that a lot of their problems were under the ground, and they fixed their pipes. So they're not using nearly as much water as they thought they were gonna have to have. It's my understanding that this plant is working now, it's active. I believe Taunton has as a backup in case they have an issue. And I would really like to see the town take a look at it to see whether or not, I'm sure it's expensive. I'm not suggesting that it's cheap. But I'd like to have someone take a look at it to see if there's maybe a possibility of the town of Norton tapping into that process. And by doing so, maybe reducing the amount of sediment we're pulling up out of our own wells and maybe getting some relief in the future. I know there's been some conversation about building another $10 million water treatment plants, and in the grand ballpark, this may be a cheaper alternative than even doing that. I've heard some suggestions about a couple of wells over at the Dever property, the old Fort Dever property, that in Taunton that may become available to us, which could relieve some of the water pressure. I just would like them to come in so we can talk about dirty water, we can talk about other options for water, what they really need, infrastructure, just have a general conversation. It's a topic of conversation every day in Norton. I know I live down near well number 1 on Pine Street, and I still get dirty water. And I've got a $10 million plant sitting up on Plain Street on top of the hill that doesn't seem to be helping me. So I think it's just something we need to talk about. And I know that we're always throwing the commissioners under the bus for it. It's not really their fault. It's all of our fault. We have to get together and come up with other ways to do this and try to make a way that we can all make it happen. So if we can get them to come in, that would be great. Or we can go to them. I don't care which way we do it.
Thank you. Anything else?
No,
Okay, we're going to be going into executive session. So I declare under General Laws, Chapter 30A, 21A2, that the purpose of the executive session will be to discuss strategy with respect to negotiations with non-union personnel, i.e. interim town manager, because a discussion of the strategy in open session could compromise the purpose of the executive session, and with the board not to return to open session at the conclusion of the executive session.
So moved?
No, you gotta read the law.
I move that the board go into an executive session on the general law, section 30A, subsection 21A-2, for the purposes and reasons declared by the chair, and with the chair not to return to open session thereafter.
Second.
This is a roll call.
Yes.
Denise?
Yes.
Ms. Kimball? And I am yes. Thank you for coming.
Good luck.